Hey, what's up, guys? It's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing a Monarch deck profile. And today, actually, we don't need you here, Dragoons. It's okay. You can sit this one out. It'll be fine. We'll be fine without you. No, I want to play. No, we don't need you here. It's fine. It's okay. So we're going to get into this one, guys. I'm really excited to show you this one to you guys because this one's super fun to be able to play around with because it is really a good deck, especially outing problematic cards like Dragoons. Hey, get out of here. We don't need you. I'm really excited to show you guys this one because it is super fun. It is really amazing, and it's really easy to play through problematic boss monsters like Dragoons because it is just an amazing deck. So without further ado, guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can come bar notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards like getting your name description in a single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting each requested deck profile every single month to your patron along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Erebus. So Erebus is a really good card in this deck that has the awesome ability that you can tribute summon this card by tributing 1 tribute summoned monster. And if this card is tribute summoned, then you get to send 2 Monarch spells and traps with different names from your hand and or deck to the graveyard. And if you do, you get to shuffle 1 card from your opponent's hand at random, graveyard, or their side of the field into the deck. And it also has the ability that once per turn during either player's main phase, if this card is in your graveyard, you can discard a Monarch spell or trap to target a monster in your graveyard with 2400 more attack and 1000 defense and add it back to your hand. So it can recover a lot of your cards that just are in the graveyard that are Monarch cards. We did play 3 copies of Ether, the Heavenly Monarch. Ether is a really good card in this deck because it lets you tribute summon this card by tribute summoning 1 tribute summoned monster. And if this card is tribute summoned, then you also get to send 2 spells or traps that are Monarch spells and traps from your deck to the graveyard. But this time you get to special summon 1 monster with 2400 or more attack and 1000 defense from your deck, but return it to the hand during the end phase. And then during your opponent's main phase, if this card is in your hand, you can banish a Monarch spell or trap, and then immediately after this card resolves, you get to tribute summon this card, and it's a quick effect to be able to tribute summon it, which is really good. We then play a single copy of Karaz. I've never actually played this deck with a single Karaz, but with all the new support cards that came out of Lightning Overdrive, I really couldn't find any other way to play this deck, so I dropped the Karaz down to 1, and what it does is when you tribute summon, or when this card is normal or special summon, you get to target 2 cards on the field, destroy those targets, and for the player that got them destroyed, that player gets to draw a card for every card destroyed, and this card cannot attack the turn its normal summon or special summon. We then play a single copy of Majesty's Fiend. Majesty's Fiend turns all effect monsters effects off on the field, which is pretty good. It can't be special summon, and monster effects cannot be activated. It's actually one of the shortest lines of text, even out of vanilla monsters, which is really cool. We then play 3 of one of my favorite cards in the entire game, which is 3 copies of Vanity's Fiend. Vanity's Fiend is actually the MVP of this entire deck because you usually want to go first in this deck now to be able to just throw a copy of Vanity's Fiend against your opponent because it has the awesome effect that neither player can special summon monsters at all. So it's really easy just to normal summon this card out to your side of the field by tributing one of the other monsters that we have in this deck to be able to just kind of turbo out your copy of your Vanity's Fiend onto your side of the field and then just go from there. We then play 2 copies of Ada, the Heavenly Squire. Ada is really good because she has the ability that if this card is normal or special summon, you can special summon 1 monster with 800 attack and 1000 defense from your deck in defense position except another copy of herself. And then also you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck the turn you activate this effect, which is not that big of a deal. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, then you get to target 1 of your banished Monarch spells or traps and add it to your hand, which is really good just to be able to kind of recur your Monarch spells and traps, especially stuff like Pantheism. We then play 2 copies of Duelist, the Underworld Squire. He is a really good card. He gives you an additional normal summon, and if this card is normal or special summon during your main phase, you can tribute summon an additional monster during your normal summoner sets. And also, you can banish this card from the graveyard to target 1 monster with 800 attack and 1000 defense in your graveyard, and then special summon it in defense position. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn after you activate this effect. So you're basically comboing these 2 together, actually dropping them down to 2 each because of the stuff that we got in Lightning Overdrive. We're then playing 2 copies of Proof. Proof is really good because it has a really good effect that if you control no special summon monsters, you can immediately special summon this card from your hand, and also you cannot special summon other monsters for the rest of the turn, which is not a big deal, because actually if you just throw this out on your side of the field, you can then tribute it for Vanity's Emptiness, which is the big play. And also, if this card is normal or special summoned, you can either this card resolves, tribute summon a monster. So basically this card was screaming for Monarch support as Monarch support, so it's really good. We're then playing 3 of the new Pendulum monster that helps out Monarchs. I really like this card. This is basically walking Upstart Goblin. Its Pendulum effect is the only effect that matters, because once it goes out of the Pendulum zone, you're never going to see it again. If you have no cards in your extra deck, which, hey, guess what? We don't play an extra deck. You get to you get to destroy this card and then draw a card. So it's basically an Upstart Goblin in this deck. I play it as a 3 of because I want to see it to be able to draw that extra card. It never really comes up other than the first draw, and it's just really good to get that first draw out of the way. You could play 2 and play an Upstart Goblin instead to give it a little bit more consistency, and I have thought about that, so keep that in mind as you play the deck. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Reinforcements of the Army, because it does help you dig through the deck to get to your copy of your Squire a little bit faster in this particular deck. A single copy of Foolish Burial, because it sends the monster that you need to the graveyard when you need it. 1 copy of 1 for 1, because again it helps you get the monster on the field that you need when you need it. 1 copy of March of the Monarchs. March of the Monarchs makes it a tribute summon monsters you control cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects, and you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck. But we're not really concerned about special summoning from the extra deck at all, because we don't play an extra deck, except for the Pendulum monster that's going to put itself in the extra deck. We then play 2 copies of Return of the Monarchs. Return of the Monarchs has a really unique effect that you can't special summon anything from the extra deck, and then when you tribute summon a monster, you can activate one of these effects to either add from your deck to your hand 1 monster with 2400 attack and 1000 defense, with a different name as the monster you just tribute summoned, or add a monster with 2800 attack and 1000 defense from your deck to your hand, except for a monster with the same name as the tribute summon monster. And the tribute summon monster must be face up on the field to activate and resolve this effect, which is pretty easy to be able to pull off. We then play 3 of Tenacity. Tenacity is insanely good. You just reveal any monster in your hand that has 2400 attack and 1000 defense, or 2800 attack and 1000 defense, and add from your deck to your hand 1 Monarch spell or trap, which is really good, just to be able to get you literally any of your Monarch spells and traps that you need at when you need them. We then play 3 copies of Pantheism. I am so glad Pantheism's back at 3. Pantheism's been at 3 for a while, and I've been playing this deck like crazy since Pantheism went back to 3. I love this card, and it helps out the deck so much. You send any Monarch spell or trap from your hand to the graveyard, and you get to draw 2. And then you can banish this card from the graveyard to reveal 3 Monarch spell or traps in your deck. Your opponent randomly chooses 1 and adds it to your hand, and then you shuffle the rest back into the deck. You can only use this effect of Pantheism once per turn. But the first effect is as many times as you want, which is really good to be able to just kind of draw multiple times. But the bottom effect is only once per turn. But it's a really great effect just to be able to draw you cards out of this deck. We then play 3 copies of Stormforth. Stormforth is really good because Stormforth tributes your opponent's monsters to be able to normal summon out something like a copy of Vanity's Fiend or Majesty's Fiend to your side of the field, which is absolutely insane. You can even normal summon out your Pendulum monster because it is a level 5, which I really wish this would have been a level 4. But with it being a level 5, you can just kind of normal summon it to your side of the field with a copy of Stormforth in a crunch moment. We then played 3 copies of Domain of the True Monarch. Domain is so good because while you have no cards in your extra deck and you are the only monster that controls a tribute summon monster, your opponent cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck. Now you hear that and you think, okay, well, what's the point of the Pendulum monster? Because the Pendulum monster is going to pop itself and it's going to put itself in the extra deck, because if you control no cards in your extra deck except this card, you can destroy this card and draw a card, and then it will put itself in the extra deck. Well, yes, it will. But let me ask you, does it matter if they special summon from the extra deck if you control this? Like, it doesn't, because basically your copy, that first effect does not matter as long as you have your copy of your Vanity's Fiend, which is why this card is a 3 of in this deck, which is why it's so good. Like, it doesn't care if there's multiple copies of it in the extra deck, which is why you play it as a 3 of. And then Domain comes into play where it's like, okay, cool, I can't use the first effect, but I still get all the additional tribute summons, which is nice, because the other effects of this card is is that if you're the only one that controls, or a tribute summon monster you control attacks an opponent's monster, it gains 800 attack during damage calculation only, and then once per turn you reduce the level of one monster with 2800 attack and 1000 defense in your hand by 2 until the end of the turn. So basically it also makes it so all of your big monarchs like Erebus and Ether go down to 1 tribute instead of 2, which is helpful in the deck as well, because then you just have to tribute one of the squires, or you have to tribute like a copy of Proof, or you have to tribute out another tribute summon monster, which is really nice. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to be playing 2 traps in the deck, and then it's going to be two copies of the Prime Monarch. So the Prime Monarch is the only trap I'm playing now. Unfortunately, the way that the Monarchs Erupt is written, you can't have anything in the extra deck when you activate it. So with your Pendulum monster, it does become a little bit bad. But again, that's why I play the 3 Vanities Emptiness, because this card basically does what Domain and what the Monarchs Erupt do in 1 card, which is why you don't need 3 cards for this 1 card to be able to play, which is really nice. And you don't really care about Domain anymore, because it's like, okay, cool, it's an extra card if I don't have the Pendulum card, but if I do, the copy of Vanity's Emptiness makes up for where Domain doesn't, which is why it's so good. So the Prime Monarch basically can special summon itself to your side of the field if it's in the graveyard by banishing another Monarch spell or trap. When you do, it comes out as a level 5 with 1000 attack and 2400 defense. And then also, if this card's on your field as a trap, then it has the ability to, once per turn, target 2 Monarch spells or traps in the graveyard, shuffle them into the deck, and then you could draw cards. Basically, you're constantly recurring your cards, but it has to be a continuous spell or trap, not a monster, when you activate that effect. So that's pretty much it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really fun deck to be able to play around with. I highly recommend that you guys have never played with Monarchs. You definitely should. It doesn't need an extra deck at all. You have outs to literally everything, as long as you don't brick in this deck, which this deck doesn't brick as much now. Like, it's a lot less than it used to be with the new Pendulum monster and Proof. Like, Proof really fixed a lot of the problems that this deck had, and the new, like, Upstart Goblin. You basically play, like, 6 draw cards in this deck now, which fixes a lot of the issues that the deck had, and I'm really excited to actually, like, play around with this deck even more, because it is absolutely insane. I could definitely see myself taking this to a locals and being able to pop off with it. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.